you want to come in under the safety car? Were you asking to, or?
I mean, I left it in the team's hands to decide what the best strategy was. You know, they've clearly got they have more information than I do, but yeah.
Are you worried if you're speechless in the car? How are you feeling now? I've had a few minutes to kind of take it all in and I guess talk to the team a bit.
I haven't spoken to anyone, but feeling pretty crap, as you'd imagine. I mean, I don't really know what to say. Obviously, we didn't get it right with the strategy. I think the pace was very strong. I feel like I didn't put a foot wrong. It's just a shame to not walk away with a win.
How can you destroy a perfect Formula One weekend with a single decision from the wall? Oscar Piastri lived it firsthand, and his silence said it all. Oscar Piastri arrived at the Lusail circuit with a conviction that only the greats can project. From the first lap on Friday, his confidence behind the wheel of the MCL 39 was palpable, almost intimidating to his rivals. What was at stake was not just another weekend of competition, but the consolidation of his status as a serious contender for the 2025 Drivers' Championship. In that context, Piastri not only delivered, he exceeded expectations with a performance that bordered on perfection. In Friday's qualifying for the sprint race, Piastri demonstrated surgical precision. Every millimeter of the circuit was used with millimeter efficiency, and the final time left him ahead of the rest on a route that harshly punishes any slightest error. But the most impressive thing was not only the result, but also how he achieved it. With a fluid route, without sudden corrections, and with a consistency in each sector that showed absolute communion between driver and machine. It wasn't just any fast lap. It was a declaration of intent. On Saturday in the sprint race, Oscar not only reaffirmed his dominance, he made it a habit. It was his third consecutive victory in the Qatar sprints, a statistical fact that reveals much more than simple consistency. This specific dominance on a specific circuit indicates a perfect adaptation to both the technical characteristics of the layout and the typical conditions of the region. Scorching heat, abrasive asphalt, and accelerated degradation. His ability to maintain pace and take care of tires during this short race was simply superior. And as if that were not enough, Saturday afternoon left one of the most impressive moments of the weekend, the pole position for the main race. With a time of 1 minute and 19.387 seconds, he not only beat his teammate Lando Norris, but also set a new circuit record. Beyond the statistics, what made that lap memorable was the way he managed to get tenths where no one else could. Each curve was drawn to the limit without excesses. Control and aggressiveness in perfect balance. It was the type of lap that, when looking at the telemetry, leaves rival engineers without answers. Everything pointed to a Sunday race that would cap one of the most dominant weekends any driver has had all season. And most relevantly, that dominance was backed by a progression that cannot be ignored. Since 2024, Piastri has been polishing his shortcomings, maturing in strategy, fine-tuning his handling in traffic, and improving his race management. The Qatar GP was the highlight of that growth. He had pace, he had confidence, he had strategy. But the only thing he didn't have was adequate support from the pit wall. If one reviews the context of the championship, the importance of that Sunday was even greater. With Lando Norris as the world leader and McLaren fighting for every point with Mercedes and Ferrari, the opportunity to close a double was strategic. Every decision, every parameter, every second counted. And Oscar Piastri, from his position, was ready to give everything. What he did not expect, perhaps the only thing he did not consider, was that the error would not come from him, but from the same team that had to support him. Lap 7 of the 2025 Qatar Grand Prix was the exact point where everything changed. An incident between Nico Hülkenberg and Pierre Gasly caused the safety car to appear, completely altering the strategic dynamics of the race. Until that moment, Oscar Piastri was leading with authority, and his pace indicated that he had total control of the development of the Grand Prix. However, what should have become a golden opportunity to consolidate their dominance ended up being the beginning of a tactical disaster. With the new tire regulations imposed by Pirelli, each stint was limited to a maximum of 25 laps. In a 57-lap race, this required at least 3 pit stops, an element that transformed strategic driving into an exact science. Given this framework, the safety car represented the ideal window to execute the first stop, minimize loss of time on the track, and optimize the use of compounds. Practically all the teams understood it this way. Verstappen, Mercedes, Ferrari, even Alpine reacted immediately. But McLaren inexplicably decided not to. Both cars, Piastri's and Norris's, remained on the track. A disconcerting decision from any tactical point of view. With the field compact and tire temperatures dropping, the opportunity to maintain position was evaporating with every second. It wasn't just a misreading of the moment, but a complete disconnection from the flow of the race. The decision did not respond to reactive logic or an evaluation based on real-time data. It was, as Andrea Stella later acknowledged, a premeditated choice based on assumptions about what rivals would do. The team director's argument was clear. We didn't expect everyone to stop. Being the leading car means making decisions without knowing what the others will do. But that defensive logic does not sustain the weight of the final result. McLaren had all the simulation data, access to degradation logs, and live telemetry from dozens of sensors. With these resources, the margin of error should be minimal. And yet, they made the one decision they couldn't afford, staying on track while rivals gained tactical advantage and new tires at no significant time cost. The outcome was immediate. At the restart, with fresher tires and a higher temperature in their compounds, the cars that had stopped began to close the gap quickly. Oscar, who should have extended his lead at that point, began to be pressured from all sides. The domino effect of that decision was brutal. Not only did he lose the strategic advantage, but he was trapped in a sequence of subsequent stops that forced him to row against the current for the rest of the race. Zak Brown, CEO of McLaren, was quick to accept the mistake with an honesty that is unusual in modern Formula One. It was a huge mistake. We gave the victory to Oscar. There is no other way to look at it. And it cost Lando the podium. This self-criticism, although brave, also shows the magnitude of the failure. There were no miscommunications, no confusion on the pit wall. It was a conscious, structured, and wrong decision from the beginning. In a category where every second is the result of calculations, forecasts, and accumulated experience, McLaren made a mistake in the most basic thing: reading the race correctly. The most serious thing of all is that these types of errors are not limited to the loss of points. They undermine the team's internal confidence, erode the credibility of the coaching staff, and, most delicately, can alter the dynamic between drivers and management. A driver like Piastri, who had given everything on the track, ended up penalized for decisions made without the support of real performance. The critical moment of the Qatar GP was a painful lesson in how a bad strategic decision can destroy a perfect weekend. When Oscar Piastri crossed the finish line of the Qatar Grand Prix, he didn't need to shout, he didn't hit the steering wheel, he didn't demand explanations over the radio. His only reaction was a phrase that, due to its simplicity, contains a devastating emotional charge: speechless. I don't have any words. Those words, spoken in a broken voice, silenced not only his track engineer, but everyone who understood the background. In a sport where post-race communication is often charged with adrenaline, excuses, or overflowing frustration, Piastri's silence was an even more eloquent sign. The disappointment he felt surpassed any attempt at rationalization. And it wasn't just about losing a race. It was about losing a victory that he had already built with surgical work from the first day of the weekend. His frustration was not the result of his own mistake, a bad start, a failed maneuver, or an absurd penalty. It was the pain of seeing how, from the same wall that was supposed to empower him, the fruit of an impeccable performance was taken away from him. A wall that, by keeping him on the track at the key moment, squandered everything that Piastri had achieved lap after lap, adjusting each sector to the limit. Those types of situations are the ones that leave the deepest scars. Because when a driver gives 100% and the error comes from the other side, doubt sets in. Not about his ability, not about his speed, but about the structure that surrounds him. Will he be able to trust them next time? Will they make decisions aligned with their performance? Is there a real reading of the team's competitive moment or just poorly calibrated reactions? The answer is not in the words, but in what is not said. Everything is in that, I have no words. Behind the strategic failure that ruined Oscar Piastri's weekend in Qatar, there is not a single isolated error. There is a chain of decisions, erroneous interpretations, and an excessively conservative vision that reveals a deeper problem in McLaren's decision structure. The British team, which has just won the Constructors' Championship in 2024 and leads the current one, has proven to have an extraordinarily competitive car, but this brilliant engineering machinery does not always seem to be supported by tactical management that knows how to accurately read critical moments. Finally, there is a human component that cannot be ignored. When Zak Brown admits without filters that they gave the victory to Oscar, he is not just talking about a technical error. You are sending an alarm message to your own work group. And those kinds of public statements, although they reflect transparency, can also cause internal tensions. Because the mistake was shared, and now it is in the eye of the hurricane. If McLaren does not correct this dynamic of closed and inflexible decisions, it risks jeopardizing its most promising season in decades. From a championship point of view, McLaren remains at the top, leading both in the constructors and with Norris at the top of the Drivers' Championship. But the advantage is fragile. Mercedes is improving, Ferrari has become unpredictable but dangerous, and Red Bull, despite its internal problems, has a constant threat in Max Verstappen. In this context, each wrong decision can have a multiplier effect. Qatar was an opportunity to widen the gap in the standings, consolidate the team's morale, and send a message of strength to the rest of the paddock. Instead, what they projected was vulnerability. Let me know in the comments what you think about all this.